everybody, welcome to another episode from Accent Debt Recovery. My name is Anoluwakbo, and today we'll be talking about the role of the Legal Aid Council of Nigeria for indigent debtors. By way of introduction, the Nigerian Legal Aid Council is a corporate body established by the Legal Aid Council Act. It is a body that is saddled with the responsibility of providing legal aid, legal advice, and access to justice for those entitled to it. The council was first promulgated in 1976 by Decree 56 to enhance the rule of law through the provision of free legal assistance, representation, and advice to poor litigants. Its primary mission is to provide legal assistance and representation to indigent and vulnerable individuals in Nigeria who are unable to afford legal services. Now we move to the functions of the Legal Aid Council. The major function of the Legal Aid Council can be found in Section 8 of the Legal Aid Council Act, which states that the Council shall establish and maintain a service to be known as the Civil Litigation Service for the purpose of assisting indigent persons to access such advice, assistance, and representation in court where the interest of justice demands to secure, defend, enforce, protect, or otherwise exercise any right, obligation, duty, privilege, interest, or service to which that person is ordinarily entitled under the Nigerian legal system. Legal aid shall also be granted in respect of any breach or denial of any such right, obligation, duty, privilege, or service. The council shall be responsible for the representation before any court or tribunal for such civil matters. Summarily, in 6 points, I'll be giving the functions of the Legal Aid Council. Number 1, providing legal representations to indigent persons in civil and criminal matters, providing legal assistance to the people who are incapable of ordinarily affording it. Secondly, giving legal advice to indigent individuals. Now, giving free legal advice to Nigerians. Indigent means people who are unable to afford legal services and are from Nigeria. Thirdly, promoting the availability of legal aid services to those in need. Number 4, educating the public about their rights and responsibilities, promoting alternative dispute resolution methods, and lastly, administering the legal aid fund, which is intended to finance legal aid services. Now, the Legal Aid Council of Nigeria renders its services through a network of legal aid clinics, legal practitioners, those are lawyers, and paralegals across the country. The services may include free legal representation in court, legal advice, mediation or negotiation on behalf of indigent clients. They also conduct legal awareness campaigns to educate the public about their rights and responsibilities under the law. Now, who are indigent debtors? Indigent debtors are people who are in debt but lack the financial means to repay their debts. They often find themselves in precarious financial situations and face legal challenges. Indigent debtors, like I said earlier, are people who are unable to fund their debts, who don't have the resources, who don't have the financial resources to fund their debts. Now, what are the mishaps regarding debts are indigent debtors exposed to? That is the the unfortunate events that indigent debtors are exposed to when they are unable to fund their debt. Now, the first one, harassment and intimidation by creditors and debt collectors. Most of the time, when a debtor is unable to pay his or her debt, or is unable to fund his or her debt, most of the time you see the creditors coming to take them out with police out of their houses, coming to embarrass them, and they face several kinds of harassment. Secondly, legal actions such as lawsuits, garnishments, and repossessions, rather. Now, such debtors, the creditors can bring a lawsuit against them, an action against them for owing for too long and not being able to pay. Thirdly, social stigmatization and exclusion due to their financial difficulties. Now, in the society, there is a stigmatization that comes with everybody who has a challenge. Now, when somebody is a debtor, especially when someone is a well-known debtor, there is this stigma that follows the person around, and such is an unfortunate event that happens to an indigent debtor. Number 4, difficulty accessing credit or financial assistance in the future. Now, when a person is known for constant or recurring debts, it is quite almost impossible for the person to receive financial assistance from everybody, because, or anybody rather, because they see the person as, oh, he's going to keep owing and owing, and before we get the money and all of that. So it's going to be quite difficult for the person to get financial aid in future. And lastly, psychological stress and mental issues due to debt related problems. Now, it's normal when people face challenges and the challenges make them sad. Now, some people slip into depression, some people are suicidal because of the debt related issue. Now, moving on to the solution, how can the Legal Aid Council aid them? How can the Legal Aid Council help indigent debtors? The first and very most important one is legal representation. Now, the Legal Aid Council is known for legal representation for people who are unable to pay, who don't have the resources to pay. They render free legal representation for them. The council can provide indigent debtors with legal representation in debt-related cases, ensuring their rights are protected in court. It is really as simple as that. The Legal Aid Council provides people who are unable to, get their own lawyers, with lawyers that are able to represent them in courts of competence jurisdiction. The second one is negotiation and mediation. They can facilitate negotiation with creditors to reach debt repayment agreements that are fair and manageable for the debtors. Now, it is one thing for a person to owe, and it is another for that person to even have the resources to pay. Now, what the Legal Aid Council help them with is that they try to reach an agreement with their creditors. They try to reach an agreement with their creditors, saying that, okay, this is the amount we can pay at this time. This is the amount we can pay. We can pay instrumentally and all of that. Thirdly, debt relief advocacy. The council can advocate for debt relief programs or policies to alleviate burden of debt on indigent individuals. Number 4, financial education. Offering financial education and counseling to help debtors manage their finance and avoid future debt problems. Now, ignorance is one thing that makes people lag behind. So when debtors are educated, or people are educated on how they can avoid debt, it goes a long way in helping them. Then lastly, legal advice. Providing legal advice on debt related matters, including options for debt consolidation or bankruptcy. Now, I have some recommendations here, and the first one is increase funding. The Legal Aid Council should get additional funding from the government in order to extend its services and assist more low-income people. That is, the Legal Aid Council should get in touch with the government, or resonate or work hand in hand with the government more to be able to reach more low income people. That is, if normally or regularly they reach, let's say, 50,000 people a year, when they work hand in hand with governments, they might be able to reach like 100,000. Secondly, outreach programs. I explained that earlier. Then the third one, collaborates with other government organizations, non-governmental organizations, and civil society groups to offer comprehensive assistance to poor debtors, addressing not just the legal but also social and economic aspects of the issue. In conclusion, the Legal Aid Council of Nigeria is essential in ensuring that the poor, including poor debtors, have access to justice. The Council works to make Nigeria's legal system more just and equitable by offering legal advice and legal representation, raising public awareness of legal issues, and pushing for legislative improvement to reach even more at-risk group and handle the complicated problems poor debtors experience. There is a need for ongoing support and development. Till we meet next week again, I hope you've learned one or two things from the role of the Legal Aid Council of Nigeria for helping indigent debtors. See you next week. Bye.